Welcome. We are starting notes 4.7 on page 165 today. So go ahead and open up to this page. Now, I'm only going to do half of this page because this is a review page. So you're going to have to take a picture of the second half and submit it to me. So make sure right now you put your name in marker. Not my name, your name. Up here. In marker, so when you take a picture and you submit it, I know that you did it. You could also go ahead and put the date here. The date for me is 10/20/20. Yours is going to be sometime next week. Now, what I want you to do, I'm going to do some of these, not all of them with you. You need to determine which of the 5 triangle congruences justify each step here. So you should pause the screen and do everything, and then come back and check, and then I'm just going to go over like 5 of them. So right here, first off, anytime I have triangles touching, I usually use my green highlighter and I highlight the side that they share. Then I know that this line that they share is part of both triangles. And I like to write those letters in here. So I'm going to go ahead and write angle, this shared side, and this angle. Now, is that side included between the 2 angles or not included? You want to go the shortest route from this to the next piece. I'm not going to go here to an angle and a side because that's too far. That's too many blanks. I'm going to go this way, angle, side, angle. Okay, so you should be able to do that for the whole page. I'm going to pause for just a second, but I'm going to come back and do a few of them. Okay, so I'm going to go to number 3 right here. Now these ones aren't touching, so they're not sharing a side, but I do have an angle here, a side here, and an angle. Because I have 2 angles and a side, which means it's going to be this one or this one. I've got to decide, is that side between the 2 angles or not? Is it included or not included? Now you want to go the shortest route. If I go this way, I go by a side and an angle at the back. This one, I'm just skipping one side. I want to go the shortest route, so this one is going to be AAS. Also, with the one up above, if it helps you, I can see it fine this way, but you may want to draw 2 separate triangles. And if you draw the triangles not touching, sometimes that makes it easier to see as well. Those are not accurate drawings, but sometimes it makes it easier if you draw them separate. Okay, I am going to do this one here. Now I have a side and a side. I don't have the third side. Do I have an angle? Hopefully we see that this angle right here is vertical, so this angle has to be true. Now, if we remember, though, that angle is not between the 2 sides. It would have been SAS, or between the 2 sides it'd be here. So it's going to be SSA. I'm always going to write it that way. If you write it the other way, it's the bad word. Hopefully we remember that the bad word does not work unless it's a special case of HL. So you have to have a right triangle for SSA to work. Well, so SSA doesn't work, so this is not enough information, NEI, not enough information, or you can just say it is not congruent. Something like that. Okay, I'm going to skip 7, I'm going to go to 8. Now again, here we have a side, and I have this angle because I know it's 90 degrees. Also, this is, because it's opposite the right angle, this is called the hypotenuse. I know these angles right here are also congruent, but I don't need them. They're extra. So if I did this one, SSA, I know I have a hypotenuse and a leg. This one is going to be true by HL. Hold on one second. Hi, everybody's homeschooling right now, so little interruptions. So here we have hypotenuse leg because you have a right triangle, a hypotenuse, and a side. So that's going to work here. This is the side A, so the bad word that does work. I feel like that's enough, I believe, hopefully. So you need to complete the rest of these. Go ahead and highlight them so I know which ones I'm looking for. 2, 4, 6, 8, 7, 10, 12, 11. This is going to be like a quick little quiz for you. These are the ones that you should fill in, take a picture of, and I will put a submission at the end of the video. So you can submit this at the end of the video, and I'm going to give you credit for completing this paper and submitting it. So it's not a homework assignment, but you will submit it on the same link that you watched. I don't know if I can do that. So if I can do it on the video, otherwise I'll do it right below the video. I'll do a submission for you. Okay. All right, I'm going to go to the next page. So what we're going to be doing today is we are going to go through the 4-7 notes, and we're just going to, it's mixed practice of proving triangles with that information. So can we do proofs with the information that we have? I am going to give you just a few of these. And we're going to go, so we're not going to do very many, just like 4 of these. I'm going to give you half the information, and you fill in the rest of it. Sorry, that was a big word. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to start with is my given. I'm going to write my given in 2 separate lines here. I'm going to go to number 2. Line segment BD bisects angle ABC. That's given. Okay, now I have a choice. I could put that next given right here, because if BD bisects ABC, that means it makes this angle here and this angle here congruent. So because I know that from the bisector, I'm going to go ahead and mention that right away. What does that tell me? Definition of a bisector means that angle ABD is going to be congruent to angle CBD. Okay, now I have that other given. I can go ahead and put that given down here. Angle BAD. Are you okay if I just call it A? Because BAD is, this is the only angle it could be. So I'm going to say angle A is congruent to angle BCD. All it could be is C. I'm going to call it angle C. And that's given as well. Now I have 2 angles that are congruent. Do I have anything else that I could prove to say these triangles are going to be congruent? Because I know my final piece right here has to be that triangle ABD is congruent to triangle CBD. One of my 5 triangle congruences has to be the reason. I don't know which one, but one of the 5. Can you list all 5 without looking? Off to the side. Pause it if you need to. Can you list all 5? Side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, 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 side, and a jump. So one of these. I have 2 angles, probably going to be the 3rd or the 4th one. Do I have a side? Yeah, they share this side. I don't know why I picked green, but I always use green to show that side that's the same. So I'm going to say that line segment BD is congruent to line segment BD. When something is equal to itself, it's looking in the mirror. It's my reflexive property. So I have an angle, angle, side, AAS. So you're filling in as much of those as you can as you want that to be your goal. Now again, I'm probably going to give you half of the proof if I were to test you on it. and you would have to fill in the blanks. Going to the next page, let's go ahead and go to 6. Okay, I am going to start with line segment TY is congruent to line segment XY. So I'm going to mark that. That's given. Now, it's not like it didn't tell me it bisected or did something, so I don't know any other information from there. So I can go ahead to my second given and say angle TVY is congruent to angle XWY. TVY is right here. XWY is right here. Those are the same. This is given. Now I also know that I want to prove this right here. So I'm going to say triangle TVY is congruent to triangle XWY. Well, I have this side, screen to this side, that angle, screen to that angle. Do I have any other sides or angles that I know? What about this angle right here? Do I know this angle is congruent to this angle? I can go ahead and say that angle TYV is congruent to angle XYW because, put that down, vertical. And now I have angle, side. So I didn't need this step right here. That was just an extra step. I didn't really need it. But there we go. There's our proof. Okay, going to the next page. I don't know that we've done these yet. Triangle proofs and CPCTC. Now CPCTC stands for corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So it means that if I have congruent triangles and I used a 3, like side, side, side or something to say the triangles are congruent to this other triangle, I then know that all the angles are also congruent. All the other corresponding parts have to also be congruent. So if I only use 3 pieces, I still know the rest of it is congruent. So I use this when asked to prove parts of congruent triangles. If I want parts to be congruent, so either sides or angles. But first, you must prove that the triangles are congruent. So almost always before you use CPCTC, the step right before it is going to be triangles congruent. So let's go ahead and list this one. I have line segment AB congruent to line segment AD, and I have line segment BC congruent to line segment DC. These are given. I also know that I want to prove an angle, not the actual triangle. I want to say that angle BCA is congruent to angle DCA. Okay. Now, this is not the triangle, it's part of the triangle, which means I should know what this is probably going to be every time. Now, in order to say parts of the triangle are congruent, I'm probably going to need to say up above almost every single time. that the triangles are congruent. So let's get to that piece. I'm going to label everything I know. AB is congruent to AD. BC is congruent to DC. Do I know anything about any other angles? And what about another side? Does this side is that side shared on both triangles? So I know here that AC is congruent to itself because it's reflexive. Do I now have enough information to say that these triangles are congruent? Well, I sure do. I can say that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle ADC because of the side-side-side congruence. Every time you have another step after, my reason is going to be, well, I know the triangles are congruent. I know that every part has to be congruent as well. Every corresponding part of congruent triangles are congruent. You can also put CPCTC. That's how you would most likely see it in a multiple choice test. Okay, now anything you can fill out down here, go ahead and do that. I am going to actually number these. I'm going to call this angle 1. I'm going to call this angle 2. I'm going to call this over here angle 3. I'm going to call this angle 4. That's just going to be easier for me to name them instead of naming it PSQ and RQS. I can just name it by the number. So that's another way you can name these angles. Okay, I first know that P, line segment PES is maximus. Okay, line segment PS is parallel to line segment QR. This is given. So if I know PS is parallel to QR, I want to look for maybe some type of angles here. You can draw it separately over here. You can see this line. So I can extend it a little bit. I have this angle here and this angle here. Well, if PS is parallel to QR, don't I know that my angle 3 and my angle 4 have to be the same? So I'm going to go ahead and say that angle 3 is congruent to angle 4 because what type of angles are they? And they're alternate to. Now the next thing it gave me was this one here. It told me that angle QPS, that's angle 1, was congruent to angle SRQ, this is angle 2. So I'm going to say angle 1 is congruent to angle 2 is also given. Okay, so once I do that, I'm going to mark them. Angle, angle. Do I have another angle or another side? I do have this side that they're sharing. So I have that QS is congruent to QS because it's reflexive. Now I can say that the triangles are congruent. Triangle PQS is congruent to triangle RSQ because of angle, angle, side. So you want to look at, you have an angle, and a side. That side is not included between the two angles, so angle, angle, side. Now again, I wanted to prove this right here. You know, look at this. but I know that PQ, I want to prove that PQ and RS are congruent. So PQ would be this side out here, RS is over here. Well, if I know the triangles are congruent, I now know that all of the corresponding parts of the congruent triangles are also congruent. I'm going to pause and I'm going to come back and do 2 more on the next page. Okay, for these next 2, I've filled in all of the statements. You should pause your screen, fill in all of the statements, and see which of the reasons can you fill in on your own. Can you see the connections and make any of those happen? So pause, fill in all of that information, answer any of this that you can. Okay, so first one here is given. And if x is the midpoint of wy, that means that wx and yx have to be the same because that's my definition of a midpoint. Well, it also said it was the midpoint of vz. So here's vz, which means if it's the midpoint of that, this right here, vx, is going to be equal over here to zx. Again, definition of midpoint. So angle 1 is equal to angle 2. Well, do I know why angle 1 would have to be equal to angle 2? Hopefully we see that those are those kissing V's. Right here, that's going to be my vertical angles. Well, it says the triangles have to be congruent. What information do I have? Hopefully you can fill in this piece right here on your own. I have a side, an included angle, and a side. This time I have side, angle, side congruence. Now, whatever step I want to go to next, I already marked the side, the angle, the side. I also know that the other angles and the other sides have to be congruent. So if it's asking about 3 being congruent to 4, I can say, sure, of course, sure it is. The triangles are congruent, so the corresponding parts of the congruent triangles are also congruent. There you go. So again, here's the last one we're going to do today. JM bisects KJL. Well, that's given. And if it bisects this, that means that these angles, and I put numbers there because I think it's a little bit easier. So instead of saying KJM, I'm just going to say angle 3. I know 3 and 4 have to be congruent because that's my definition of a bisector. Now, do I know that 1 and 2 are congruent? Oh, well, 1 and 2 are JMK is 1. JML is 2, right up here. 1 and 2 have to be congruent because it's given. What about JM equal to itself? So I know this angle here, here to this angle here, this angle here to this angle here, and I have 2 angles and a side. Is that side included or non-included? So it is included right between the 2 angles here. So again, this was reflexive. This was angle, side, angle. Okay, so our last step, once we are able to say that the triangles are congruent, whatever reason I choose for the triangles to be congruent, I know that the very next step is going to be CPC2C. Because if the triangle is congruent because of the angle, side, and angle, all the other angles and sides have to be congruent as well. Corresponding parts, congruent triangles are congruent. There you go. Okay, so good luck with those. Again, I'm going to give you a lot of that information if it were on a test or something, and you would have to fill in the other side. Put sticky notes or come see me in office hours if you have any questions. Have a fabulous day.